a lot of people complain about if they have food before bed, they don't sleep very well. But why is it that eating food late affects sleep so badly? What are the biggest myths that you've heard about gut health and digestion?
I guess the biggest one that sticks out is...
Welcome back to the PerformWell Podcast. This is the podcast for you if you're looking for performance and wellness optimization so that you can not only smash your career, but also have a better life, better relationships, and better health. We believe that performance and wellness are yin and yang and work together. So listen in as we dive into topics that are going to help you optimize your life for the better.
Well, welcome back to another podcast, guys. And today we have Dan, of course, and also Tommy Berrabe. Is that Berrabe, is it?
Yeah, Berrabe.
My bad. Berrabe, that's the one. He is a men's health coach and digestion specialist. We're going to go into it today. And Tommy, a lot of people believe looking good equals being healthy. Can you break down why that isn't always the case?
Yeah, I mean, you will know this as well as anyone, Nick, but, you know, you stepped on stage looking incredible, but you will probably know that your mental health probably, you know, it was hard with all the dieting, the restrictions, and just the deprivation in general, which is a stress on the body. But myself, my experience with looking good but not feeling so good was when I first became a personal trainer. I was in great shape, but my health was a mess. Had chronic sinus issues, awful skin issues that was just really embarrassing, struggled to sleep every night. My gut was a mess. So the outside looked good, but the inside didn't. And to fuel those workouts on no sleep, I was using copious amounts of caffeine, copious amounts of sugar, and yeah, inside was a mess. Outside looked great.
I think that is a lot of the time the case. I think like you look at, you know, IFBB pros, there is kind of a level of like, they look, you know, aesthetically pleasing from the eye, from the outside. But then when you actually take a deep dive into a lot of the stuff they're consuming, the levels that they're going to get themselves in shape, they are neglecting possibly the more important part of the body, which is just maintaining general function. I mean, you hear it across the board as well. You know, there are bodybuilders that suffer from heart attacks over time. Yes, that may be down to the drugs they consume, but also I believe it, like, in a sense, is diet related too, because there is this kind of overwhelming need to get a lot of food in. And actually, a lot of the food they consume is good, but then you also think, I've seen a guy who ate like 20 crumpets in the morning just to get his calories in. And you're just thinking that's not going to be nutritionally beneficial at all.
And also, like one thing I experienced was when I was doing my bodybuilding show, I wasn't particularly like wealthy, so I wasn't able to like necessarily go down the health shop and buy the highest quality meats, the highest quality foods, etc. And because I'm trying to get in so much protein in my diet, I end up spending most of the money on the macros, but I don't spend money on the micros. And because of that reason, my gut health is in a bad place. Now, I don't remember my gut health particularly being in a bad place back then, but obviously bodybuilding, when you're stepping on stage, you're getting super lean, you do start missing out on micronutrients that make you feel good. And when you start reintroducing food back into your diet at a higher level, you start realizing how neglectful you were of your health back when you were competing. And mate, it sucks, man. And I was saying to Tommy just before this call when we were discussing it was, Dan, you remember the cycle, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
The digestive issues that I experienced throughout the cycle were horrendous. And primarily that was down to the increased demands of cycling. I just kept eating so much food and so much sugar and so much fat because of the demands that I neglected looking after my gut health. And when it came to that cycle, everything went loose, basically. But yeah.
Yeah, that was a very challenging and interesting time at that point in time. One for yourself. Also, the mad thing was how much weight you lost because of that. What was the total amount of weight you lost?
I lost about 8 kilos in 2 days.
It's just ridiculous.
Wow. You guys suffered as well. I mean, you guys had to obviously deal with the fact that I was using the toilet all day, every day. But anyway.
That's a story for another day, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's take a deep dive actually, I think, into that, because again, it is gut health that we kind of want to have like a bit of a focus on and how we can improve it. So Tommy, from your own experience then, what is kind of one key area that you'd find kind of unanimously that people struggle with when it comes to gut health?
I think right now I see a lot of people like, carnivore diet's best for gut health. No, vegan's best for gut health. No, this is best. And it really is never a one-size-fits-all approach for everyone. It's really an individual thing. You know, you will have people that, for example, don't produce a lot of stomach acid. These people find that they're more prone to food poisoning, right? Because stomach acid, if we're eating some meat that's got some bacteria on it, that stomach acid will kill off that bacteria. But if we aren't producing a lot of stomach acid, we might be more prone to food poisoning. In addition to that, we aren't breaking down the food to a great enough degree and pulling the nutrients from it as it is. So when it comes to, you know, there's a lot of different diets and people don't know which to choose, but it's about what's right for the individual. Because coming back to the stomach acid, you know, if you're going carnivore and you're eating a load of meat, that's one of the hardest things to break down as it is, you know, heavy proteins. So yeah, it's never a one size fits all approach. And that's something I see right now with people. They're just not sure which way to go.
Mm.
Yeah, no, I mean, you've answered that really, really well, because it's the confusion aspect of it. And gut health is kind of, you know, a very newly researched area, I argue. Like, compared to when we're talking about calories and calorie restriction, gut health is something that's kind of come about, and it is booming. You know, it is a really interesting area to start to delve into. I know, Nick, you've done your research into it. I'm starting to learn a little bit myself.
Well, they call it
Go on.
they call it your second brain, don't they? Like, because the influence there has on your brain chemicals and how you feel and your mood and your ghrelin and hormone production, etc. It's like so heavily linked. And it's actually scary to think that, I believe the number's like something trillion. There's something trillion microbes in your stomach and sorry, digestive system, which apparently is more cells than you have in your body. That is a scary thought, to think you've got so many different life forms in your gut that are working with you symbiotically to keep you alive, because they get obviously all the nutrients from the food themselves to survive too.
We are more bacteria than we are human.
That's
mad,
fun.
isn't it?
That's messed.
It's crazy, yeah.
It is mad. Now, what for yourself then, Tommy? What would you say are some of the most common signs that people's gut health are in trouble? You said about stomach acid there and different levels of bacteria, but what have you seen? What have you experienced? Like, what have you got?
So, some of the more obvious signs would be bloating, gas, constipation, diarrhea, acid reflux. Some of the less obvious signs would be brain fog, poor mental clarity, low mood, struggling to focus, weak immune system, right? Because much of our immune system is actually located in and around our gut. So, you know, when someone's dealing with bloating and gas, it's not taken very seriously. But then when it comes to mental health, that's taken more seriously. Well, we should actually be looking at the, you know, the bloating and gas and thinking about what we can do to, you know, the thing is, it's not a debilitating issue. And this is why people probably don't do anything when it gets to that point. But bloating and gas is a ticking time bomb for something a little bit more uncomfortable to happen further down the line. So, yeah, there's some of the more obvious signs.
That's actually really interesting. So, I mean, I have a lot of female clients talk about bloating quite a bit. I think guys also get bloating, but they don't always seem to be so sensitive to talk about how it makes them look and feel. But a lot of females do seem to mention it. And so if we're going down the route of, you know, helping the females out there and the males, I guess, with their bloating issues, what is one of the leading causes that bloatedness, do you think, in these people?
Right now, in this day and age, I would say one of the leading causes of that bloating is eating on the go. How many people do you know sit there and scroll while they're eating their food? You know, how many people drive along and eat while they're driving? And the problem is, when we're doing this, that stomach acid that I spoke about isn't being produced. Those digestive enzymes aren't being produced, and it's not there to break. You haven't got that to break down your food. So it's sitting in the gut, rotting away, sitting there longer than what it should be, and leading to more of that gas and bloating. So yeah, eating on the go is, I think, one of the worst things that people are doing right now to worsen their gut health.
I think in some regards as well, I've spoken to a lot of clients in the past who genuinely, there is a lack of mindfulness around what they eat. Like, I think people will make food and they track it and they log it, but then they don't actually think about what they're consuming. They don't go through the whole process. There becomes this barrier where they get a screen in front of them. Same for myself. And you kind of like zone out and switch off from what you're eating. So you don't actually taste the food. I arguably, like, a lot of people don't even smell the food that they're eating, which is absolutely mind-blowing because, you know, years ago we would just be sitting down as a family, eating the food, tasting the food, enjoying it. Which I also argue is one of the reasons we've got such a simplified palate these days. You think how many people go to your ultra-processed foods, your processed foods, very kind of beige foods, because the palate levels and the kind of taste sensation that we get is nowhere near the complexity it used to be. So let's talk a little bit down the line now of kind of how much of your daily energy is kind of tied into simply digestion. Like digestion alone is that kind of component, because this is kind of what we want to explore a little bit. Like, what happens when that isn't functioning properly? What effects do we find on people?
Well, as it is, digestion uses about a third of our energy. When our digestion is weak and our digestion is poor, it's going to use even more of that. You know, you might have experienced it yourself. You eat lunch, you're ready for a sleep after it. This is a classic case of weak digestion. So, you know, yes, the food should be providing us with energy, but it's almost robbing our energy when we're eating heavy meals and we're on the go at the same time, or or our body's in a stress state, should I say, you know, and that can be, I mean, you know, you're about to do a workout and you're having a big meal, right? And then you're doing that workout, well, that meal is still digesting, but it's not able to because you're diverting that energy away from digestion to do something that is stressful on the body as well. So yes, digestion has a big say on our energy, and another big part of it is the absorption. You know, are we absorbing those vitamins and minerals, those crucial B vitamins, right? So many people going to get a B12 jab. If they was to just absorb their food a little bit better, they probably wouldn't have those energy issues that warrant the B12 jab every few weeks. So, you know, breaking down our food to a greater degree is going to help us feel better, have more energy as well.
So that's really interesting, right? So I have no problem with this myself, but maybe I do, and I'm not like sensitive to it. But a lot of people complain about if they have food before bed, they don't sleep very well. Now, I can eat until 8 p.m., 9 p.m. at night, or even 10 p.m. at night, and I seem to fall asleep. So maybe I'm just an odd case in this one. But why is it that eating food late affects sleep so badly?
So when at night time, when it's dark outside, our body should be detoxifying. It shouldn't be diverting energy towards digestion. That energy should be going towards immune repair, muscle repair, detoxification. But when we're eating food, even after 7 p.m, if it's meat, for example, that's going to take 5-6 hours to digest. So when you're asleep, energy shuttled towards digestion. You might fall asleep, no problem. But if you wore your Whoop strap or the Aura ring, you would find that your restorative sleep, your deep sleep and your REM sleep is going to suffer by eating later. So some people, and I've got loads of friends, they say, yeah, but I can eat loads of food and just crash out after. In fact, I have a better sleep after eating food. But if you looked at your numbers, your deep sleep and your REM sleep, that would probably show, you know, a lot less. And myself, if I eat late, I'll wake up a few times through the night. That's what I've noticed with me as well. And that can be blood sugar. That can be a blood sugar spike when I've ate the meal and then I've gone to sleep, and the drop in blood sugar has led to a cortisol and adrenaline releasing, and that's woke me up in the night. So yeah, it is different for everyone, but ideally, and this is generally a rule for everyone, you wouldn't eat too close to bed if you want to really optimize your sleep.
Yeah, I found that myself. I relate to you there, Tommy, because I do struggle. Like the days when I used to play football late, say 7 p.m, but actually I needed to be asleep at 9. I had the combination of playing football late. I'd get in, I'd be hungry, I'd eat something, but I'd eat a bigger meal because I've just been exercising a lot. I'd need to go to bed in 30 minutes, and I'd be trying to digest this big bowl of pasta. And I'm having a conversation of the cortisol that I built up from training, and then the cortisol that's now being put through my body as my body's trying to digest. And I'm like, why am I not sleeping? What is going on? And then the sleep quality is so poor because your body is basically going, well, I'm not in rest mode. I'm literally digesting everything you've just thrown my way in the last couple of hours. And actually, I think some ways that's why our busy professionals out there struggle so much, because even in the context, we're not talking sport here, but we're talking like extreme heavy work in the evening. You see how many people are pattering away on their laptops, and then they've got their scran next to them, and they're popping it back really, really quickly, not really chewing it, not digesting it. So they're going to be more stressed when they go to sleep, and then they end up getting like 4 or 5 hours sleep, and it's a repetitive, endless cycle that never seems to end.
So in this case then, right? So let's say, we've all played a bit of football, I'm guessing. So I know Tommy says that he still plays football, right?
Yeah.
Midfielder by any chance?
Striker.
Okay. Showboat, I like it. So okay, let's go down the route of business professionals. So let's say, people are coming home at 7 p.m. at night from work, maybe 8 p.m. at night. They have to eat dinner, right? Or do they? I don't know. We'll find out. What is a good high digesting, or shall we say fast digesting dinner that potentially they could eat rather than their usual heavy proteins, etc., they might normally have?
See, the thing is, people have a stressful day at work and they come home and all they want to do is have dinner and then snack until 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And it de-stresses the body in that instance, right? But obviously over a longer period of time, obviously on their sleep as well, it's not helpful. So for the person that really wants to optimize, if they're getting home at 7 o'clock at night, ideally they're going to eat a meal that's easy to digest. So let's take salad, for example. If raw vegetables, it's hard to digest, it's hard to break down, it's going to sit in the gut longer. But if we cook them vegetables, they're just going to pass through nice and easy. So easy to digest foods, vegetables, rice, fish breaks down nice and easy. We always say, if it passes the fork test, you put a fork for a bit of mashed potato, goes through easy. You put a fork for a bit of steak, not so easy. Anything that passes the fork test that's easy to digest is going to be best for sleep. And in your case, Dan, because I used to play football at night as well, and I could never shut off after, and I had to stop doing it. But on those nights when you've got in at 9 o'clock and you want something, you need something in you, but you don't want a big meal and you want something easy to digest, a protein shake works great, or a protein smoothie, because it's pre-digested as well. Through nice and easy.
I wish I had that when I was younger. I wish I went on the protein kick when I was younger, because it was just one of those things when you're going into college every day. I'm like, why do I feel so tired? It can't just be college. I haven't had that much college, and it is that kind of just, it's nice to have hindsight now, and obviously these things as well in terms of the activity side. You've given us some good suggestions there, Tommy, like in terms of food. Now, actually, I kind of want to switch this a little bit. Are there any considerable, what we consider healthy foods that are actually quite damaging for the digestive tract?
What we would consider healthy foods. I mean, again, it's quite an individual thing. I mean, obviously we all know, we've got our boxed, processed and packaged foods that aren't great at all for the digestive tract. It really differs on the person. Some people don't do so well with gluten, right? Some people don't do well with cow's milk. Some people don't even do well with eggs. With guys that I work with, we run a food sensitivity test. And with some of them, we see that, in fact, most of them, gluten is the number one sensitivity we see in people. Cow's milk is number 2 and eggs is number 3. So, you could be eating your healthy, I don't know if anyone classes granary bread as healthy these days, but some people do, right? So that could be, causing digestive issues, and you sort of consider it healthy. Cow's milk, some people might say, I've got organic milk, but again, that could be worsening their digestive issues. So, there's definitely healthy foods that agree with some people and not so much with others as well.
See, that's interesting, because you mentioned cow's milk, right? And I did a Levisian, I think it was called Levisian intolerance test when I was younger. And it said that I was intolerant to egg white, but I could have egg yolk. Yeah. So that was annoying, because I like the whole egg. I've not actually had a problem since, but anyway, milk, lactose intolerant, although I can have milk with pretty much no digestive side effects, but I do get acne. And that's a side effect which obviously, destroyed my confidence as I grew up. And I actually found that switching the milk for something like Greek yogurt or kefir actually made it more tolerable by my body, because obviously the lactose is partly broken down by the fermenting process of it. And so it's not always a case of if, that everything is intolerant to people, but they can find alternative ways to get that same thing in. You mentioned obviously, what was it, organic milk or gold top milk, which is like the full cream version.
Yeah.
Supposedly that's supposed to be easier to digest because it's got the enzyme in there in full swing to help break lactose down. But interesting stuff, man.
Are there any products out there, Tommy, that you know of that claim to be positive for gut health that aren't? Just even branded ones that, like, say, Lidl or Aldi have brought out.
Actimel.
Yeah, I was just about to say. Actimel and BioCult and things like that. Yeah, I mean, as this gets bigger, more and more companies are coming out with different things, and I'm even seeing in the shops new bars, for example, loaded with sugar and stuff, but they say on them gut health as well, so yeah, loads of different stuff coming out all the time, really. Yeah.
Is that you saying that sugar is potentially a bad thing for gut health?
Not necessarily, no. I mean, too much of it. I mean, look, we have a lot of microbes in our gut, right? We have bacteria in our gut and we have yeast in our gut. Well, yeast loves sugar. You keep feeding sugar. You've had a few rounds of antibiotics in your lifetime. You kill off your bacteria. You allow that yeast to overgrow. Yeast feeds off sugar. It's going to multiply pretty fast if we're eating a lot of sugar. So, that's a whole another conversation. But yeah, there's a lot of products out there for sure that claim one thing and don't really deliver on that.
I've been interested in it as well because I went for a little shop yesterday. This is why I'm interested. But I saw on even some of the yogurts that they produced not in shop, but you know what I mean. Their products. It says like they start talking about the amount of cultures that are in it. Like, and I feel like in my head I'm like my PT brain goes like, surely the average person is just seeing numbers here. They don't understand what this number of cultures means for the body. They don't understand like 17 different types of gut healthy bacteria means. Like, they don't know what these are. Marketing becomes a stray thing. And again, as you say, I think it's again something to be cautious about, because a lot of people, my ex-partner used to have Actimel all the time. She'd buy the big long one. She'd be like, oh, I feel great in the morning. I just have an Actimel for breakfast. I'm like, what? Like, how can you just have an Actimel for breakfast? Like, it's just obscene. Like, I just don't understand it. So I'm so glad you made the point there about that, because it is just something that is just bewildering for me. I mean, it's only in its first kind of, I'd like to say, like, kind of century of really hardcore research on this as well. Tommy, for you, is there any kind of like big research out there that, somebody could read and actually get a lot of information from if they want to become more educated in this area?
Yeah, I mean, depends how deep people want to go with it. I mean, I look at a lot of research on a site called PubMed. Doesn't matter what it is, you just type it in there and it's going to come up with all the research of whether it's a product you're using, a probiotic, a supplement, a food. So I love using PubMed to find my research, and I read a lot of books as well. So I'm seeing, a lot of research studies in those as well. So yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, that's good. That's fair. That's good. All right then. So, what are the biggest myths, Tommy, that you've heard about gut health and digestion that you've always wanted to be like, fuck this bullshit?
Yeah, I guess the biggest one that sticks out is we need to eat little and often. Because
the old bodybuilding saying 30 grams of protein every hour, yeah?
That's it. Yeah, we need to eat little and often, because the issue with that is, you put some food in the stomach at 11 o'clock, right? Let's say you have a bit of protein, bit of rice, bit of veg. Well, 2 hours later you're eating again, but the thing is that food's still digested in the stomach. It hasn't yet moved from the stomach into the intestine yet. It's still in the stomach, right? So you've got partially digested food in the stomach, and you're putting undigested food on top of that. Now that partially digested food sits in there even longer. It putrefies, it rots away, it sits in there longer. You walk around with a big pregnant belly, bloating, farting, and you're eating little and often thinking it's doing you some good, but actually it's gradually causing more gut dysfunction as well. So
mate, But what about those guys that do those food challenges? They have like 20,000 calories, and then they go to hospital, they X-ray their stomach, and their stomach has expanded to the size of their entire torso, and they can't shit it out. It literally gets stuck and compacted. Oh my God.
For a video. To be honest, I mean, I had a lot of issues with eating myself over the years. I've always been a bit of a binge eater. And I mean, I've never done anything to that extent, but yeah, I can only imagine, man, how uncomfortable that must feel. All for a video as well. Like, yeah.
What's his name? Nick Avocado, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, now he's obviously, he apparently filmed like a year worth of content and then got completely shredded. And then he then recorded himself on his last video showing him his transformation. And everyone's like, fuck. But to do that, mate, to lose your health just for a video is so stupid.
Yeah.
Interesting. I just want to add something in there. You mentioned about binge eating. I think it's been really useful for the watchers, listeners, because binge eating it's a very, we see it a lot. I see it a lot in my clients. I see it a lot in people. Binge eating then from a gut health perspective, from what you said, it sounds like obviously it has a negative impact on the body. Now, are there any ways that, aside from kind of the binge eating scene, say somebody, is getting through a whole box of celebrations in a night, what does that actually do to the gut?
Apologies for interrupting the podcast. We know you're getting fully engrossed into this episode, and we really appreciate you stopping on the video on YouTube or on Spotify if you found us through one of the search pages. Make sure to leave a review and a subscription if you haven't already. But we just wanted to interject a point here that me and Nick have 15 years of coaching experience between us, and it's only getting better as we've got better guests on the podcast. The only way we can do that, though, is with the growth of our program that we've just released. We've got a 12-month PerformWell program, which has just dropped, and we'd love you guys to get involved in it. If you want to learn more details, make sure to head to the description, as we've got our website in there, which can give you a full overlay of the program. We're looking to help career-driven professionals, entrepreneurs, small business owners, and anyone dominate their life by improving their lifestyle. Me and Nick like to claim ourselves as experts in this area, and if you want to check out some of our other transformations, I'm sure you do. We've got some amazing people who have performed so well off the back of this program. Have a cracking day, and we really appreciate your time. Let's get back to the podcast.
So when you're getting through a whole box of celebrations, I mean, let's look at not just the gut, right? So you spike your blood sugar right up. It's then dropping, going up and dropping. You've got more cortisol and adrenaline being released. Stress affects the gut all the time. Stress, that cortisol and adrenaline, whether it's coming from blood sugar spikes or, from a relationship you're stuck in where you're under stress all the time, like wherever that stress is coming from, it's affecting the gut. It's affecting how well you digest your food. It's also, there's like a lining in the gut that stops anything from getting out of the intestine into the bloodstream, because we don't want that, right? And this lining starts to open up a little bit. And this is when food particles start to spill through. This is when we can see joint pain, we can see eczema, psoriasis, skin issues, autoimmune issues. So stress is leading to more of those openings in the gut. Stress is leading to food not being absorbed and digested properly. So eating a load of chocolate is one huge stressor on the body. I've done it many a time, right? I've ate a load of sugar and I've put my head on the pillow. It's like I can feel my heart beating through my head. My body's stressed. It's stuck in that what we call sympathetic branch of the nervous system. When we go to sleep, we don't want that. We want the parasympathetic branch of the nervous system. So eating all that chocolate, that's what it's doing to the nervous system. What's it doing to the gut? Leading to more of that yeast overgrowth, leading to more, and that's what we don't want. We've got a balance of bacteria and some yeast in the gut, but the more sugar you're putting through there, the more yeast overgrowth you're going to get, and people end up with a yellow tongue, end up with bloating, gas, constipation, diarrhea, low mood, fatigue, joint pain, frequent illness, you name it. Fill in the blank for yourself is what I say. It could be anything, and it can all come from what goes in.
Mate, I think we should go down the topic of stress real quick, because stress affecting gut health is something that I've heard about a lot, but I've never understood how cortisol can affect the gut in that way, because I know stress is not just mental. A lot of people think stress is just something that you feel because of something that's happening throughout your day, like worrying, etc. But there's environmental stress. I know, Tommy, you had issues with mold in your room in the past. which was very stressful for your body. And then obviously the physical stress from training, from lack of sleep, food, etc. So let's talk about stress for a moment then, and break down why stress is so damaging to the gut. Not necessarily the sugar side of things, but let's talk more about the mental side of things from your hectic day of work, and why that might be a problem with your gut health as well.
Well, first of all, when we say stress to someone, people go, I'm not stressed, I feel good. But actually, people don't realise these signs of stress. Number one, ever seen someone sitting there and they're just tapping their leg, they can't sit still.
That's me right now.
Sign of stress. That's a sign of, more cortisol being produced, right?
Yeah.
When you're sitting there tapping your leg, when you can't shut your brain off at night, especially when you've always got to be busy, you can't sit still, you've always got to be doing something. That's another sign of stress. When you've got dry mouth, that's a sign of stress. When your pupils are dilated, it's a sign of stress. But let me tell you something. When I was drinking a lot of caffeine, right? When I was using a lot of caffeine years ago, I'd say to people, I feel fucking amazing. But the thing was, actually, I felt stressed. Cortisol makes you feel good. But this is what people don't realise. Stress isn't just an argument or a confrontation or a bad day at work. Your body knows when something isn't right, and it will release more stress hormones.
Yeah, and I agree. Anyone listening, yeah, like coffee is a big one. Like I had to really limit my coffee the last couple of months because I was doing 3 a day, and initially you start to feel energized, you're more awake and alert and stuff like that. But I started noticing that I was stressed more than often. My heart was beating faster than it needed to be. I didn't feel very good, and I was waking up feeling tired. So anyone listening, I think 100% try and limit your caffeine intake in the morning, and that includes any caffeine. Not entirely necessarily, but limit.
Yeah, some people do better with caffeine than others, but what a lot of people seem to do as well is there's this whole thing now about skipping breakfast, fasting until lunchtime, right? You do this a couple of times, it's all right, but the longer you do it, the more it starts to tax the adrenals. The adrenals are pumping out more cortisol and adrenaline, right? These people are like, I feel bloody amazing skipping breakfast. I'm going to do more of that. But they're doing more of it, and it's how it affects them over months and even a year. If they keep doing it over a year, that cortisol and adrenaline, they're pumping that out all the time. Their body's always stressed. On top of that, they're adding coffee, and on top of that, they're adding a stressful workout to the mix as well. So now they're really on, their body's on high alert all the time, stuck in that sympathetic nervous system. So how does that affect digestion? Well, when we're eating food, we want to be in that parasympathetic branch of the nervous system. That's going to allow us to properly break down and digest our food. All energy in the parasympathetic nervous system is diverted towards the gut. So that's when we're going to be breaking down the food. We're going to be pulling the nutrients from it. See, you can be eating the healthiest food known to man, but if you're in that sympathetic branch of the nervous system, trust me, you're not breaking down that food and extracting the nutrients from it. So that is one big way that stress affects digestion. Massive.
Yeah. And one really good way as well of getting into that parasympathetic nervous system, the relaxation part of it, is by stimulating, I believe it's called the valgus nerve, or
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one. Breath work has been shown to really help to tap into increasing the activity of that nerve. And so getting good with mindfulness is not only going to help you with being mindful with your diet and training and being more focused, it's also going to help relax your body and switch on the valve that's going to make you, perform better. So it's just one thing to think about.
That's 100%, Nick. That's a brilliant, thing to add in. I was going to say breath work as well, because it's free, it's simple, you can do it anywhere, and you can get the benefits of breath work in just a couple of minutes. So breath work is absolutely fantastic. If you've just been rushing around, or if you've had a tough gym workout and then you're sitting down to eat some food, doing a couple of minutes of breath work will get you into that parasympathetic branch of the nervous system where you need to be for rest and digest.
In terms of demonstration then for breath work, Dan,
Do you want me to do a demonstration of breath work? You can do it. Well, there is, there's a lot of different types. I think the most common that people do is like box breathing. Box breathing is a really easy one to get into. And the best thing you can do with this kind of stuff is you need to kind of make sure it fits into your lifestyle. Don't sit and do a 40-minute meditation. You don't got time for it. So literally do like a 3-second breath in, a 3-second hold of a breath, and then a 3-second breath out. Nice and easy. You can do it anywhere. People say when you're boiling the kettle, literally whilst you're boiling the kettle, you can do that kind of breath work. And it's nice and simple. If you need to tune out a little bit, put some headphones in, just kind of clock off for a minute. But as you were saying, breath work just brings you into this different zone. And there's so many benefits of breath work as well. We've spoken to it on numerous podcasts before, which kind of develop it. We spoke about stress in there as well. And I do want to just kind of go from kind of how the effect of gut health has on body composition too. Because I think it's a really key topic across all three of us, because we do work in that area too. So how can gut health have implications and or positive effects on losing fat and gaining muscle for people?
Well, like stress can cause poor gut health can cause stress, right? So it's a two-way street. And for someone who's dealing with, I mean, look, I've worked with a lot of people, right? We've run a stool test, yeah? They've sent their stool off to the lab. It's come back. They've got a type of bacteria in their gut that shouldn't even be there. They're exhibiting all the signs of higher stress, even though everything's seemingly okay in their life. They've got a lot of stress, and it's coming from their gut. And you probably know this yourself. You know, when someone's under a lot of stress, where do they store their weight? Around their belly. But also, when someone's under a lot of stress, it makes sleeping harder. And when sleeping's harder and when sleep is poor, what's the body looking for the next day? Because it ain't looking for vegetables and protein. It's looking for a quick source of energy, whether that's sugar, whether that's bread, pasta, like a quick source of carbs the body's looking for. So when the body's under stress, if that stress is coming from the gut or other areas as well, the body's going to look for quick fixes of energy. So you're going to have more cravings. And so many people I've worked with, they think it's a willpower issue. You know, the cravings, I keep giving into them all the time. But actually, what's causing the cravings is often what we need to look at. And then that's leading to the weight gain that they can't shift.
Man, this is exactly why I would say I found parts of nutrition and training easier over time, is because I'm not always using willpower. Like, I've managed to make some parts of my health and fitness somewhat better than the average person. Like, that's just what we do with our careers, right? And because of that, willpower is not an issue. I think a lot of people are always saying that I can't do this, I can't do that. You know, I just feel like I can't control myself is the number one thing that people tell me. They can't control themselves. And you don't have to control yourself all the time. You shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't always be having such a tight grip over what you should be doing. There should be some element of autonomous health that, you know, guides you.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. And a lot of the time it is that kind of level of understanding around areas such as gut health to help people understand implications. Now, let's kind of give some practical steps to the watchers and listeners as well. What would be kind of like your top 5 gut-friendly foods that you would say to people, look, if there's something not quite right, have a go with this and see how you get on?
Gut-friendly foods. Again, this could look different for everyone, you know, because I could tell you now that, you know, broccoli's great and cauliflower's great and it feeds the beneficial bacteria in your gut. But the thing is, if you've already got bacterial overgrowth, it's going to bloat you out. It's going to lead to gas. In general, you know, you've got things like you said, yogurt, sauerkraut, different types of vegetables. These can all be great for the gut. Yeah, I mean, you know, there's most foods, if it grows, it's normally pretty good for your gut, but it's always going to differ on the person. You know, it's never just to say, oh, this food is great for everyone's gut, because it's just not the case all the time. So yeah, no,
I find that so interesting as well. I've seen kombucha as well. Kombucha's like a big one. Yeah, that came on the scenes, but everyone's bringing out like little kombucha drinks now. Ginger shots, do they help as well?
Yeah, ginger's great. Brings heat. It's good for helping with digestion. It brings heat to the stomach, and we want heat in the stomach for good digestion. It's also helpful for the immune system as well, and inflammation. Ginger.
I tell you what, back in the day, what was it my granddad used to say? He used to say, "What's it? A drink of whiskey would sort out your gut. Back in the day, a shot of whiskey in the evening would sort out your gut and you digest anything. Now, do you think there's any truth behind that? Like any types of alcohol actually helping with digestion?
Personally, I don't see it. I don't see it. No, I don't think alcohol has got any place at all in the same word as health. Personally, but yeah, there might.
What about a glass of red wine, as the wives talk about doing every week?
Yeah, I mean, again, it brings people's stress down for a bit, doesn't it?
Mm.
It's a stress reliever for a bit, but then affects you negatively over time. So
obviously, well, I say obviously, I don't think most people would know this, but like there's something called the allostatic load, which is the amount of like cortisol in the body at any one time, and anything can add towards the stress that takes it over that. And I think if your red wine brings it down, but then it increases the physical stress, it doesn't necessarily bring down the allostatic load. It just makes you mentally feel like it is, when physically it's not. So it's interesting for sure.
That's right. I mean, that glass of wine might take down the stress there and then, but then you're looking at how it affects blood sugar and potentially wakes you up through the night. You're looking at the toxicity on the liver as well. It would be great to coach someone into gradually replacing that glass of wine with something else that lowers the stress, that we all, techniques that we all know.
Yeah, no, I agree. And these kind of like old wives' tales that always come about as well. They always play ball on social media. You see them flipping around for everything. I think people are always trying to have a reason to make these things okay and make these things good. Like, I know polyphenols are in it, so they do have some place. But at the end of the day, I don't think there's enough ground evidence to ever turn around and say, alcohol is a great route for you to fuel your health. It's the exact opposite.
And I would like to think as well, like despite what we've talked about today, it's not a case of like, let's say you're here and your 80% of your diet is not quite optimized. Like, we're not saying you have to change it all at once, and we're not saying you have to never have a pizza again in your life. It's about a process, taking things away, adding things in, getting used to it. And then when you start to feel healthier and you start to feel good because of it, you actually want to do it. And it's not a case of forcing yourself anymore. It's a positive change, but
yeah, for sure. Right, Tommy, we've got something very good for you right now. We've got some kind of rapid fire questions that we're going to fire off at you. Okay.
Nice.
We want total honesty, 100% on the answers. So let's start off. What is one food that you would never eat?
Mince pies.
Really?
Yeah.
good.
Because I hate
Me too, mate. Me too. Fist bumps.
What is it about mince pies?
I think it's the filling, to be honest with you. Yeah. Pastry, I like, but the filling of those just, doesn't.
Is it like the texture then, or something? Or is it genuinely like taste, or is it just like what like the whole thing?
To be honest, I don't think I've ever even tried them either, which is terrible to say because I'm all for trying stuff. But yeah, I've just, when they come out at Christmas, just not interested.
Interesting. Nick, what is one food you'd never eat?
Mate, mince pies.
Well, there you go.
I would never have haggis just because I know what's in it.
I think that's fair enough.
Arguably health-wise, it could be good for you, but the actual what's in it, I just couldn't eat that. I couldn't eat that, man.
What about you, Dan?
I tell you what, there is only one food on this planet that I despise, and it's a cherry tomato or a plum tomato. And that sounds very I know they're great. I know tomatoes are great, but I just have this thing from when I was younger that I remember watching. Like, I'm a celeb. They have the eyeballs and they pop in their mouth. And I remember one night I was having a plum tomato and it popped in my mouth whilst watching that. And now I can just never get those two things combined in my head. And I just can't stick them. Like, I have them in a salad, I'll take them out. I will eat them if they're in, like, say, your wrap of the day from McDonald's, something like that. I will eat them. But it's not something I ever want. I don't go, I fancy a punnet of plum tomatoes. It makes me feel a bit like you guys with mince pies, basically.
Sultanas, man. Sultanas.
Right.
Who got a grape one day, dried it out and went, you know what? Doesn't taste bad, man. Fuck that.
Right, second question. If you could give one tip to someone starting their gut health journey, what would it be?
Don't drink cold drinks with meals.
Interesting. Why do you say that?
Because if you're putting cold into the body, you're diluting stomach acid and digestive enzymes, and you're creating weak digestion, leading to more of the bloating, constipation, gas. If you're going to have a drink with a meal, make it a hot drink.
Okay, interesting. So, like, when people have like coffees and teas after going out for dinner, that's actually a good thing to do then.
That's a digestive aid. Yeah.
Okay.
So are you saying 8 cold beers and then a kebab would be a bad mixture?
I mean, especially sitting there, sipping on a fizzy, cold. And don't get me wrong, I used to do it, right? I used to love eating dinner and sipping on a nice cold Coke. But yeah, worst thing for digestion.
Interesting. So just kind of like, what would you say, like lukewarm water or something like that, just to kind of, if you need something to get through it.
Tea, coffee. I have herbal tea. Okay. So yeah, any hot drink.
It's interesting you say that, because I think that's one very common thing in Indian cultures that they tend to do. And
do.
Indian and Asian cultures, they tend to have tea. Like they'll have their soups. Like the soups aid in the digestion as well because they're warm, and that's what helps them actually digest the stuff. Because you do hear that actually a lot of the gut-friendly stuff, shall we say, originates from Asian cultures.
Ayurvedic medicine, yeah.
Yeah, and I find it so fascinating because we don't do that here. Like we are like Coke Zeros, we are beers, we are wine, we are whatever like you can get.
UK diet is bland. We do not have one of the most acquired tastes in the world, obviously. We even took Indian culture and made tikka masala. We basically made a milky. Yeah, we ruined it. We ruined it, guys.
Well, when I came back from India, I turned around to everyone, and I was like, I didn't see a korma that went down as a British thing. Like, they don't make korma in India. It's not a thing. Like, we made korma here to please us in the UK and not have, like, stuff like Rose Rogers. Final question. What is the weirdest gut health question that you've ever been asked?
Yeah, I looked at this question earlier. I'm a bit stumped on that one. I get asked a lot of questions, but yeah, I can't really think of what the weirdest one is, to be honest with you. Yeah, I talk about poo as well, with people. I have to talk about bowel movements and stuff. Nothing's weird to me, man. So
let's flip it. What's the most interesting question you've ever been asked?
Someone asking me about fecal microbial transplants.
I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Explain it.
A lot of issues, and she wanted to go down that route of having basically someone else's stool put into her. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but again, there's some research behind that as well. So
yeah, I've read some research on this. It's fucked up. So they took the fecal matter of an obese person and exchanged it vice versa with someone that was fit and healthy and active, and it did impact their body compositions and their cravings.
Yeah,
crazy. So how did they get the fecal in?
Yeah, I think it's just put into a capsule, to be honest.
How is it? Yeah. Not the old man with the glove, Like...
Just putting here, go and pill up bum. That's mad though, isn't it?
Got to get it into your lower intestine. Just bear with me.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, we get so much interesting stuff on here as well, and we're like interesting conversations as coaches. Across the board. And actually, this conversation has been absolutely fantastic. So, Tommy, we're going to round off there. We really appreciate you coming on today. It's been a fantastic podcast, and people are going to get so much value out of this as well, which is why we do this. So, just kind of round off, where can people and listeners and our viewers find information on yourself, your services, and all that good stuff?
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed being on and appreciate it. And I want to let the guys listening to this want to let them know that I've created a guide completely free for men who want to show up as the best possible versions of themselves with their gut health, their mental health, their sleep, their diet, their exercise. I've created a guide completely free, and you can reach out to me on Facebook, Tommy Berrabe, Instagram, Berrabe_B_healthy, and I'm on Twitter as well. So you can find me on all the social platforms.
Wonderful. We'll plug you in the end of the podcast as well. We appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you so much. And just honestly, make sure you go show Tommy some love. Go over there. If you've come from us, guys, and just slap a perform on one of his posts or something like that. It'd be so cool if we could see that. But make sure, as I say, like, follow, subscribe on our YouTube, on our Spotify. We're appreciating we're growing. We've had like another 11 subscribers recently on YouTube, so everything's going in the right direction. And we've really appreciated having an amazing guest on like Tommy, because it just gives us an insight into the performance and well-being space that a lot of people don't know about, and that's what we want to do. We want to expand that. So thank you ever so much, guys. We will catch you guys later.